Hey everyone, welcome back to Anaheim Park Tourist. Last week we released news that the state of California will allow theme parks to reopen. Well, today Bob Chapek of Disney announced that Disneyland will be targeting the end of April to reopen.
Yay!
And so what does that mean? There's been lots and lots of questions on the different forums, Twitter, Instagram, and so we're going to try to address some of these. And some of this will be speculation, of course, and others will be firm information.
And we also wanted to say we're super excited that 10,000 cast members are being called back to work, and we're really excited for that, and also all the surrounding businesses. We're just so happy that everyone's hopefully going to be able to open back up again and go back to our happy place.
And what we're going to start off with are the theme park guidelines real quick. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this. Theme parks can open in the red tier, which means 15% capacity. Orange tier is 25%, and finally yellow tier is 35%. There has been some confusion on whether or not the state will allow out-of-state visitors to visit in the latter tiers, and that's not the case. If you do not live within the state of California at this time, you cannot visit the theme parks, which is kind of bad news, but the state has said that they're going to be working with theme parks on adjusting these guidelines, so that may change in the future. Additionally, there are limitations on the amount of time you can spend on indoor attractions and the amount of people that are actually allowed indoors.
And no indoor dining on the red tier.
That's correct.
With the announcement today of targeting an end of April opening, they did not mention anything specifically about tickets yet. They did say they would be announcing something soon, so hopefully we'll get some firm updates in the next coming, I'm hoping, days, not weeks, so we can all plan and try to get our tickets. We think that it's going to be very similar to Walt Disney World, where of course you're going to have to make a park reservation when you buy your tickets. For us, that process was really smooth. We did book a couple of months out prior, and we are also wondering if Disneyland will just open up like the whole year to book reservations just like Walt Disney World did. Also, if you're like us and you have tickets that you bought last year and you were never able to use them, a lot of the tickets have been given an extension on their expiration date, and we're going to link down below to disneyland.com so you can read if your ticket falls into that category.
And that includes a lot of the foreign tickets, Canadian, New Zealand, Australian are addressed in there.
Also, the Southern California resident ticket is also addressed. So for example, our tickets are in our Disneyland app still, and they were, when we looked online, they were extended until December 16th of 2021. And we're assuming that because they were given an extension, we won't have to pay any extra if ticket prices do go up. But we will see, because you just never know.
Yeah, we're not expecting it because the tickets are still valid tickets.
Yes.
Additionally, we don't expect the APs to come back anytime soon. We think that everybody's going to have to purchase a ticket. Locals, Northern California, everybody's gonna have to buy a ticket.
We think eventually an annual pass type program will come back, but we think things will need to be more normal for that to happen.
Yes, as it was stated by another Disney press conference, there's more demand than supply. And I think when those start to level out, then we'll start to see some of the normal programs return. Now on to parking in trams and all that fun stuff about getting to the park. We were at downtown Disney about 6 months ago, and I had about an hour-long conversation with a security cast member. He said that the Toy Story lot is closed, and that is currently being used for a mass vaccination site. And so we will not see a return to Toy Story anytime soon. So parking will happen at the parking structures. There will be no tram service. During the conversation I had with this cast member, he stated that people with mobility issues will be able to rent scooters or wheelchairs right there at the parking structure. And that is the same with the strollers, because everyone's going to have to walk on that tramway that we all used to ride to the entrance of Disneyland.
We've seen a ton of questions being asked about how they're going to handle rope drop at the parks, and we are guessing it's going to be really similar to what we experienced at Disney World, and we actually really liked what they did there. For instance, if Magic Kingdom opened at 9 a.m., around 8 to 8:15 a.m., they open the gates. And it's different every single day. So big crushing crowd of people don't all group up in one area at one time. And we tried to go as early as we possibly could, and every time we get there, it was already open, and it was wonderful because you just walked right in. There wasn't a huge line for security. A lot of the stuff was already open in the park. Some attractions were open, some weren't. For instance, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train was not running right when we got in, but we were able to queue up for it. And so it just depends on the day and the time, and they change it up all the time, so people don't expect to get there super early and have a big crowd of people all together.
Yeah, we expect it to be very similar to that.
Yes.
We have seen lots of questions also on how the attractions or rides are going to be configured for physical distancing, and we imagine it's going to be very similar to Walt Disney World. We were there back in December. What we don't expect, Rise of the Resistance actually had a plexiglass barrier between the front and the back row. We think Rise of the Resistance will be one group. Same with Cars. We believe that will be, Radiator Springs Racers. We believe that will be just one group. Rides like we went on Dinosaur, which has the same ride vehicle as Indiana Jones, and there was a group in the front row and a group in the back row. The middle was empty.
Also on the bigger roller coasters like Big Thunder Mountain and Expedition Everest, they would sit our party together in 2 rows, and then they'd skip a row and have the next party.
The Space Mountain ride vehicles at Disney World are very similar to the Matterhorn ride vehicles, and we got our entire train.
Same with Splash Mountain. I know their logs are different than ours because you sit side by side, but we were a party of 4 and we got the entire log to ourselves.
Pirates, that was one group in the front row and one group in the back row. Haunted Mansion is different at Disney World. The elevator is an effect and not a functional elevator. So they just had that open, no pre-show, and he walked on. We think that Disneyland will just have markers on the ground where you stand on certain markers, and then whether or not they actually play the pre-show will be a different story. And then you'll single file just go out and distance and then get onto the actual ride vehicle. We expect all pre-shows, with the exception of Haunted Mansion maybe, to not be playing. That was the case at Disney World. Yeah,
for instance, Tower of Terror, no pre-show. You just walked right through that room and went on to get into the ride vehicle.
Yeah, and on Tower of Terror, it was the middle row was empty, and they had one group of people on each side of the aisle, and so you weren't actually packed in there. Mission Breakhouse is the same exact ride vehicle. We expect very similar things. So everything was pretty smooth. The queues seemed astronomically long, but they moved really fast because it was just a lot of space, 6 feet of space between everybody. Just remember, it's going to be a reduced capacity. The rides are going to be reduced capacity, so it may be a very similar experience to pre-COVID.
Yes, the nice thing about being spaced out in line is that you are pretty much constantly moving. You're not really sitting in one spot for very long. But yeah, the lines do look overwhelming, but they move fairly quickly. Another question we've seen pop up is whether or not Disneyland will offer a special incentive if you book at a Disneyland Resort Hotel, and that incentive would be guaranteed park reservation into the park. We are going to speculate that yes, they might do something like that because they did do that at the opening of Galaxy's Edge. Mm-hmm.
And so they want to try to incentivize people to stay at the hotels because that means you're spending more money at the parks. And so we think they may use that as an incentive to get more hotel bookings, to fill up the hotels, and then give you that priority into the park. Because I know I would stay at a Disney hotel if I had a guaranteed reservation when I wanted it.
Yeah, especially if the park reservations is anything similar to the Touch of Disney event where it took people hours to secure their reservation.
Yes, and so like I said, this is speculation, so we don't quite know. As more information becomes available, we'll go ahead and make another video on it, and if there's any breaking news, we'll release it on our Twitter and Instagram account. She's Instagram, I'm Twitter. And so if you have any specific questions, please feel free to reach out to us in the comment section. If you like our content, please give us a big like.